He knows, however, that if he broke it all off, but by himself, alone, not waiting for a word from me, and even not telling me about it, without any hope in me, I would then change my feelings for him and would probably become his friend. He knows that for certain. But his soul is dirty, he knows and yet hesitates, he knows and still asks for a guarantee. He's unable to make a decision on faith. Instead of 100,000, he wants me to give him hope in me. As for the previous word he talks about in his letter and which supposedly lit up his whole life, there he's lying brazenly. I simply felt sorry for him once. But he's bold and shameless. The thought of a possible hope immediately flashed in him, I realized it at once. After that he began trying to trap me, he does it still. But enough! Take the note and give it back to him, right now, when you've left our house, naturally, not before. And what shall I tell him in reply? Nothing, of course. That's the best reply. So you intend to live in his house? Ivan Fyodorovich himself recommended it to me earlier, said the prince. Beware of him, I'm warning you, he won't forgive you for giving him back the note. Aglaya pressed the prince's hand lightly and left. Her face was serious and frowning, she did not even smile as she nodded goodbye to the prince. One moment, I'll just fetch my bundle, the prince said to Ganya, and we can go. Ganya stamped his foot in impatience. His face even darkened with rage. Finally the two men went outside, the prince carrying his bundle. The reply? The reply? Ganya fell upon him. What did she say to you? Did you give her the letter? The prince silently handed him his note. Ganya was dumbfounded. What? My note? He cried. He didn't give it to her. Oh, I should have guessed. Oh, Kurar said I see why she didn't understand anything just now. But why didn't you give it to her? Oh, Kurar. Excuse me, but, on the contrary, I managed to deliver your note at once, the moment you gave it to me and exactly as you asked me to. It ended up with me again, because Aglaya Ivanovna gave it back to me just now. When? When? As soon as I finished writing in the album and she asked me to go with her. Didn't you hear? We went to the dining room, she gave me the note, told me to read it, and then told me to give it back to you. To re-eat it. Ganya shouted almost at the top of his lungs. To read it. You read it? And he again stood petrified in the middle of the sidewalk, so astonished that he even opened his mouth wide. Yes, I read it just now. And she herself gave it to you to read? She herself? She herself, and, believe me, I wouldn't have read it without her invitation. Ganya was silent for a moment, making painful efforts to figure something out, but suddenly he exclaimed. That can't be. She couldn't have told you to read it. You're lying. You read it yourself? I'm telling you the truth, the prince replied in the same completely imperturbable tone, and, believe me, I'm very sorry that it makes such an unpleasant impression on you. But, you wretch, did she at least say anything as she did it? Did she respond in any way? Yes, of course. Speak then, speak, ah, the devil. And Ganya stamped his right foot, shod in a galosh, twice on the sidewalk. As soon as I finished reading it, she told me that you were trying to trap her, that you wished to compromise her, in order to obtain some hope from her and then, on the basis of that hope, to break without losses from the other hope for 100,000. That if you had done it without negotiating with her, had broken it off by yourself without asking her for a guarantee beforehand, she might perhaps have become your friend. That's all, I think. Ah, one more thing, when I had already taken the note and asked what the reply would be, she said that no reply would be the best reply. I think that was it. Forgive me if I've forgotten her exact expression, but I'm conveying it as I understood it myself. Boundless spite came over Ganya, and his rage exploded without restraint.